Evolve Beyond Borders is proud to introduce Dror Gurevich, founder and CEO at Velocity Network Foundation. Dror is a renowned keynote speaker on the future of work with over 25 years of experience. He is a founder and leader of several successful companies in the workforce tech landscape. Let's welcome Dror.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dror Gurevich, and I'm here to let you in on the biggest labor market revolution you've probably never heard of. I'm the founder and chief executive officer of the Velocity Network Foundation. We're a nonprofit membership organization on a mission to build the next-gen data utility layer underlying the global labor market. It will be my honor and privilege today to present to you the work we're doing, and I want to thank Niamo for giving me this opportunity. But first, some context. Hiring people based on what they say about their own skills, identity, and education credentials has been terribly inefficient. Self-reported career records are unreliable and non-standardized. Misrepresentation is a common issue, and the need to verify applicants and employees' data adds unimaginable friction and cost to the labor market. This drives a several billion-dollar industry of screening services that, for the lack of a better solution, is literally manual, highly-usual processes of making phone calls and procuring data from siloed sources to compile a comprehensive, verified portfolio of the individual's learning and employment records. It takes weeks. It's prone to errors and to privacy violations, and simply not built for the modern world of work. Now, everything we need to do across the employment lifecycle, build pathways from education to employment, reskill 1 billion people, support the broad adoption of platform work and open talent markets, all require processing the individual's trusted learning and career records. Yet we're still relying on self-reported, unverified resumes and online profiles as the source for candidate and employee career records. This is the one impediment for true digital transformation of the space. And this issue cuts to the core of our ability to build the future of work. Until we fix that broken data layer underlying the global labor market, all other efforts will remain improvident. Now, the data is right there. It's with the person's past employers, it's with their school, it's with their professional association, or the contingent work platform they've been using. Problem is that all these data sources are siloed, disconnected, unstandardized, and lack interoperability. Now, the challenge of developing a conduit for the trusted exchange of career-related information involves interoperability and portability questions on a global scale. So it has been too monumental in scale for the industry to contemplate until now. Because what if there's another way? What if we could turn education and career records into tamper-proof and cryptographically secured digital credentials the individual will curate from primary source authorities like their past employer or their school or their professional association, store them privately, and share them with reliant parties across multiple use cases. This rich, verifiable, self-sovereign career identity is that great transformer of the global labor market we've all been waiting for. Reducing friction and the cost to transfer trusted career and education credentials will redefine the way people navigate their career and how human capital development and deployment is managed in general. Now, how does it work? So individuals approach primary source authorities using what we call career credentials wallet. These are apps installed on their device that enables them to curate and to store, manage, and share career credentials. The individual creates a peer-to-peer encrypted connection between their device and the system of record of the issuing organization. The issuer, the organization, is essentially taking the data they have on the individual, sign on that data with their private keys, and ship it back after they have standardized it according to the interoperability protocol back to the individual's device. So now we have the data signed by the issuer stored on the individual device. To maintain the trust, the issuer also issues, parallel to issuing the credential to the individual, the issuer also issues a cryptographic key, a proof of validity, to the Velocity Network Immutable Ledger, aka Velocity Network blockchain. Now, what we have after the issuing has been completed is that the personal information sits with the individual on their device, and a cryptographic key sits on the immutable decentralized ledger. The key holds no personal identifiable information and therefore cannot be correlated back to an individual. The personal information is with the individual under their total control. The verification key that holds no personal identifiable information is stored on-chain. Now, when the individual at a later stage will present the credential to a relying party, once in possession of the credential, and only once in possession of the credential, that relying party will be able to tap the blockchain, grab those keys that were issued to the blockchain by the original issuer, and run complex cryptography that will enable them to verify that the credential has not been tampered with, that the credential is binded and owned by the individual, that the issuer is a legitimate entity, and that the credential has not been revoked for some reason by the issuer post the issuing event. Because revocation is part of the life cycle of many credentials. This is how it works. It's a privacy-preserving framework that enables the individual to curate and own their career and education credentials. Now, the largest workforce tech and ad tech vendors in the world came together under the nonprofit Velocity Network Foundation to meet the challenge of deploying the Internet of Careers, that utility layer that underlies the global labor market, together, head on. This is the biggest labor market revolution you probably never heard of. These vendors that lead the pack are used by 30% of employers across the globe to automate employment-related processes, and they're processing career-related records for over 1 billion lives. Those can now be interoperable with each other across a trusted conduit, with the individual in the middle having full sovereignty over their career records. Many organizations are joining every month on this journey. Now, not only vendors have been joining the Velocity Network Foundation, recognizing the gravitas of the disruption we're driving. These industry associations you see on screen, representing the largest labor market stakeholder groups, joined as well as members of the Velocity Network Foundation to participate in the governance of the network and to represent their constituencies' perspectives. These currently include the American Council of Education, representing the U.S. post-secondary education system, SHRM, which I'm sure you know of, the Global Professional Association of HR Practitioners, the World Employment Confederation, which is the global professional association of the entire staffing industry, and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation, representing the U.S. employer sector. Many more such organizations are in the process of joining this movement. Now, for the Internet of Careers to become a reality, we first needed to address the elephant in the room: interoperability. Today's style of portfolio careers and lifelong learning will require the individual to connect with multiple authorities that can attest to their education and career achievement in order to curate enough career credentials, enough education credentials to represent their whole selves. On the other side, for these credentials that the individual have been curating to have any utility value, any reliant party that individual shared their credential with must be able to process and make sense of them. All these entities in a highly fragmented ecosystem have to be interoperable with each other. And the fragmented nature of the global education ecosystem and the job market makes it a monumental challenge. Many platforms have emerged to support the exchange of trusted career-related information, but they are all proprietary and siloed, while the concept of portable, verifiable, interoperable, comprehensive digital education and career credentials requires an open approach that is ubiquitous and boundless. Now, the world has been successful before in building such infrastructure for the global interoperability and interconnectivity of data, one that changed every aspect in our daily lives. The internet. It was during the early 90s of the previous century when the internet went public. For the first time in history, humanity had a shared protocol and conduit for global data interconnectivity. This unleashed an explosion of innovation with thousands of independent software developers building their use cases on top of this protocol. What made the internet so successful? All experts agree that the fact that the protocol was made available for anyone to use freely, and that the network was not controlled by a proprietary entity that could put restrictions or exploit it commercially, this made it a safe space for independent software developers and for their investors to build their solutions on top. We follow the same mental model. In order to transform the world of work, we needed an internet of careers, a shared utility layer that enables trusted exchange of interoperable career indication data for people and organizations across the global education and labor market, one that is open for all to use, controlled by no single proprietary entity, and have physical foundational layer to serve as the actual conduit for these data packets, as well as layers in that protocol to enable global interoperability across technical aspects, data syntax, data semantics, compliance aspects, and business process aspects. This is Velocity Network, the Internet of Careers. It's an open source, public utility layer underpinning the global labor market, enabling that credential portability and interoperability. Now, we've built it so that the complexity of the protocol will be completely abstracted from the end user organizations, the organizations that issue credentials and verify credentials, the actual users of the network, and also from the end user individual, right? So the network is built so that workforce stack and ad tech vendors connect to the network to power up seamless, out-of-the-box career credential issuing and verification functionality by embedding the protocols into their core platforms. This makes it completely frictionless for their customers and users to issue verifiable credentials to individuals and to verify credentials presented by individuals. The tech stack required to connect to that protocol and to the network was open sourced by the Velocity Network Foundation and now offered royalty-free for anyone to use. The governance of that network was entrusted to the Velocity Network Foundation with its members, and the elected executive board, elected annually, is the organ that drives the network policies and rulebook so that there's no concentration of power and the entire ecosystem is represented in the decision-making process. not only the governance is decentralized, but also the infrastructure itself, the layer one blockchain network is completely decentralized with no one organization that controls that resource. That is to prevent the unwanted concentration of power and to support required redundancy. The node operators, the entities that runs the instances of the decentralized ledger, these are independent organizations vetted and trusted by the governance structure under the Velocity Network Foundation, approved to operate and maintain independent nodes of the blockchain. There is no single entity that has the ability to put restrictions on access or on the use of the ecosystem. Now, not only that decentralization is key, but also the fact that the ecosystem embeds a monetization framework to incentivize the contributors to that network, mainly issuers and the systems that these issuers are using. We all know that money makes the world go around. And while there are a lot of incentives for the relying parties to connect to the network and start using it, to get zero-time access to verifiable credentials presented by the individual, the issuers have very little to none incentives to start issuing. So another element central to the global adoption of the protocol is the incentives for issuers to make the effort and issue credentials to individuals. Employers, schools, professional associations, they all earn network tokens, or the way that we call them, velocity credits, every time they're issuing. These credits are redeemable for cash or other privileges on the network. So this is how the issuers and the contributors to the network are rewarded. On the other side, the relying parties that get the value from this ecosystem are required to pay every time they use the utility layer to grab those keys that I've mentioned before and verify credentials presented by the individual. It may sound a little complicated, but it's all abstracted from the end user organization. All they see is that the transaction cost them a few dollars. So the Internet of Careers will enable employers to turbocharge recruitment, onboarding, mobility, and compliance. The network is rewarding issuers, credentials are instantly verifiable, and compliance to privacy regulation is embedded by design. This is the great transformer we've all been waiting for, and will enable that true digital transformation of the global labor market. The first wallet is already in stores and downloadable from both App Store and Google Play. 6 more wallets interoperable and compatible with the network protocols are going to be launched very, very soon. And after 4 years of collaborative work, the network was made public earlier this year, with dozens of global leading world of work software vendors engaged in building their layer 2 use cases on top of it. They're all working together towards a future of interconnectivity and interoperability across the worlds of education and work. While early adopter industries, employers, universities, schools, professional associations across the globe are launching real-world ecosystems based on that protocol. So the future of work is coming, and we're fixing the broken data layer, underpinning it. That's a lived reality for thousands of builders as we speak. For the Internet of Careers, we are now where the Internet was 1996, 1997. Don't miss that once-in-a-generation opportunity to engage. The time to get involved is now. If you want to know more, do not hesitate to reach out. So that's the end of my presentation. I want to thank you all for your time today. Wish you a productive and engaging conference. And I want to thank Niamo for giving me this stage, enabling me to present the work that we're doing at the Velocity Network Foundation. Thank you very much.